6 months later, Hope's kitchen was busier than it had ever been. The diner still looked the same with its 12 tables and worn counter, but now there was a waiting list for tables during peak hours. People came from all over the city to eat at the place where first contact had begun. Marcus had not changed his prices or his policies. He still fed anyone who was hungry, regardless of their ability to pay. He still hired people that other employers would not give a chance. The only difference was that now he had help. Danny, now 14 and thriving in school, worked every afternoon and weekend. He had grown 3 inches and gained 20 pounds of healthy weight. More importantly, he had grown into his role as Marcus's son in every way that mattered. The adoption papers had been finalized 2 weeks after the aliens left. William Carter had kept his word about helping without taking over. Instead of throwing money at the diner, he had quietly funded programs that supported what Marcus was already doing. There was now a job training center next door where ex-convicts and homeless veterans could learn new skills. A community garden behind the diner provided fresh vegetables for meals, and a small apartment above the diner housed families in transition. "Marcus, table 6 wants to know if you'll sign their menu," Danny said, carrying a stack of clean plates. Marcus sighed. "I'm not a celebrity, Danny. I'm just a guy who runs a diner. You're the guy who convinced aliens that humans are worth saving. That makes you pretty special." Betty the nurse, now one of Marcus's unofficial managers, laughed from behind the counter. "Danny's right, Marcus. You need to accept that you're famous now." "Famous for doing what anyone should do," Marcus grumbled, but he went to sign the menu anyway. The customer was a young woman with 2 small children. "Mr. Thompson, I just wanted to thank you," she said. "Not for the alien thing, but for what you do here every day. My husband lost his job 3 months ago, and this is the only place we can afford to bring the kids for a real meal." Marcus knelt down to talk to the children. "What's your favorite thing on the menu?" "Pancakes," the little girl said shyly. "Well, make sure Danny gets you extra syrup. He's in charge of making sure kids get enough syrup." After the family left, Marcus found Carter sitting at his usual table in the corner. The billionaire still came in regularly, though now he brought business associates and politicians to show them what he called capitalism with a conscience. "How are the new programs working out?" Carter asked. "Better than I expected," Marcus said, sitting down across from him. "We placed 12 people in permanent jobs last month, and the community garden is producing enough vegetables to cut our food costs by 30%. And the bigger picture? How do you feel about everything that's happened?" Marcus thought about the question. 6 months ago, he had been struggling to keep his small diner open. Now he was being asked to speak at conferences about community development and human potential. Universities wanted to study his methods. Politicians wanted to be photographed with him. Honestly, it's overwhelming sometimes. But when I see Danny thriving, when I see people getting second chances, when I see the neighborhood coming together, I remember why none of that other stuff matters. Carter nodded. The Galactic Council has been in touch with world governments. They're sharing technologies that will help solve climate change and poverty, clean energy, advanced medicine, sustainable agriculture, all because they believe humanity is ready for it. "No pressure there," Marcus said with a wry smile. "Actually, I think that's exactly the point. The pressure isn't on you personally anymore. It's on all of us to prove the aliens were right about human potential." As if summoned by their conversation, a familiar figure walked through the diner door. Commander Zara looked almost human now, using some kind of technology to disguise her alien features. Only her eyes gave her away, holding depths of knowledge that no human possessed. She sat down at their table without invitation. "Marcus Thompson, William Carter, it is good to see you both well." "Commander," Marcus said, "this is unexpected. I am here in an unofficial capacity. The Galactic Council wanted a progress report on human development since contact, and the results are encouraging. Your species has shown remarkable adaptability. Climate change initiatives have accelerated. Conflict resolution programs are being implemented globally. Most importantly, there has been a measurable increase in charitable activity and community cooperation worldwide." Carter leaned forward. "You're saying Marcus's example is spreading?" "In ways you cannot imagine. The story of the human who chose kindness over personal gain has been shared across the galaxy. Other species are studying your methods for building compassionate societies." Marcus felt uncomfortable with the attention. "Commander, I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm just one person. I can't be responsible for changing an entire species. You misunderstand, Zara said. You were never meant to change everyone. You were proof that change was possible. The real work is being done by millions of humans who choose every day to be a little kinder, a little more generous, a little more willing to help strangers. She gestured around the diner, where people of all ages and backgrounds were sharing meals and conversation. This place has become a symbol of what human civilization can be at its best. Not because you are perfect, but because you consistently try to do the right thing. Danny appeared at their table with a tray of food. Commander Zara, Marcus said you might come back someday. Are you staying for dinner? I would be honored to share a meal with you, Danny Rodriguez. As Danny served the food, Zara continued her report. Your adoption of this child has been particularly noted by the council. Caring for non-related offspring is considered a mark of advanced social evolution. Danny's not my good deed, Marcus said firmly. He's my son. Family isn't about genetics. It's about choosing to love someone and stick with them no matter what. That philosophy may be the most important thing your species can teach the galaxy, Zara said. The evening crowd began arriving, and Marcus excused himself to help with the dinner rush. Carter and Zara continued talking, but Danny stayed to listen. Commander, Danny said, can I ask you something? Of course. When you were testing Marcus, did you know how it would turn out? Zara considered the question carefully. We hoped, Danny Rodriguez. We hoped that your guardian would prove worthy of our faith. But until the final moment, we were not certain. What would have happened if he had failed? Humanity would have remained isolated until you evolved beyond your current limitations. It typically takes species several thousand years to develop the empathy and wisdom needed for galactic citizenship. Danny looked around the diner, watching Marcus work. His guardian was taking an order from an elderly man who was counting out change carefully, making sure the man felt dignified even though Danny knew Marcus would not charge him full price. I think you picked the right person to test, Danny said. We believe so too. But remember, the test continues every day. Every choice to help instead of ignore, to include instead of exclude, to forgive instead of punish. These small decisions determine whether humanity will thrive among the stars or lose the opportunity we have given you. As the evening wound down and the last customers left, Marcus, Carter, Danny, and Zara sat together in the quiet diner. Outside, the city buzzed with activity, but inside there was a sense of peace. What happens next? Carter asked. Next, humanity continues to grow, Zara said. Your scientists will join galactic research projects. Your explorers will visit other worlds. Your artists will share their creativity with species you have never imagined. And the diner? Danny asked. Marcus smiled and put his arm around his son. The diner stays exactly what it's always been. A place where people can get a good meal and remember that someone cares about them. Even with aliens stopping by for dinner? Danny grinned. Even with aliens, Marcus confirmed. Zara stood to leave, but before she reached the door, she turned back. The lights appeared over Detroit at exactly 3:17 in the morning. They were not like airplane lights or helicopters. These lights moved in perfect geometric patterns, pulsing with colors that had no names in human language. Marcus, Carter, and Danny were still in Carter's office when Rodriguez pointed out the window. Sir, you need to see this. They all crowded around the large windows that looked out over the city. Above them, 3 ships hung in the air like silver tears frozen against the night sky. They were beautiful and impossible, clearly not made by human hands. Well, Carter said quietly, that explains a lot. Marcus pulled Danny closer to him. You okay, son? Danny nodded, his eyes wide with wonder rather than fear. Are those the people who were watching you? Looks like it. Rodriguez was already on his phone, trying to reach his contacts in the military. But every call went straight to dead air. Communications are down, Mr. Carter, everything, cell phones, landlines, internet. It's all been cut. One of the ships began descending toward Carter's building. As it got closer, they could see it was roughly triangular but seemed to bend light around its edges in ways that hurt to look at directly. The ship settled onto the roof with no sound at all. They're landing on my building, Carter said. Should we run? Danny asked. Marcus thought about it for a moment. If they wanted to hurt us, they probably would have done it already. And if they're the ones who've been testing me, maybe they're here to explain why. A section of Carter's office wall simply faded away, leaving an opening to the roof. 3 figures walked through the opening, and the wall reformed behind them as if it had never been gone. The beings were roughly humanoid but clearly not human. They were tall and elegant, with skin that shifted between silver and blue depending on the light. Their faces were angular but not unkind, and their large eyes held intelligence that felt ancient and patient. The lead figure stepped forward and spoke in perfect English, though its mouth did not quite match the sounds it was making. "I am Commander Zara of the Zephyrian Collective. We apologize for the deception, but it was necessary to observe your true nature without interference." Marcus stepped protectively in front of Danny, but the boy moved around him. "You're the ones who've been watching Marcus?" "Yes, young human. We have been observing your guardian for some time." Carter found his voice. "Why? What made Marcus so special that you'd go to all this trouble?" Zara gestured, and the air filled with holographic images. They showed Marcus helping Danny that first night, feeding homeless veterans, giving jobs to ex-convicts, refusing Carter's money to maintain his principles. "Your species is at a critical point in its development," Zara explained. "You have the technology to leave your planet and explore the galaxy, but you also have the capacity for great destruction. The Galactic Council must decide whether humanity is ready to join the community of civilized worlds." "And you've been studying us to make that decision?" Marcus asked. "We have been studying your entire species for decades. Most of what we observed was troubling. War, environmental destruction, inequality, cruelty to the weak. We were prepared to recommend that Earth be quarantined until you evolved beyond your violent tendencies." Another Zephyrian stepped forward. "But your behavior patterns were statistically anomalous. In our observations of thousands of intelligent species, we rarely see individuals who consistently choose the welfare of others over their own interests. So you decided to test him," Carter said. "We had to determine if his altruism was genuine or merely a performance for social approval. We created increasingly difficult situations to see if his principles would survive real pressure." Marcus felt anger rising again. "You put us through hell for your experiment." "We understand your anger," Zara said. "But the stakes were higher than you can imagine. If we had found that human kindness was merely superficial, your species would have been isolated from the galaxy until you developed genuine empathy. That process typically takes thousands of years." Danny stepped forward, showing no fear of the alien beings. "But Marcus passed your tests?" "He exceeded every parameter we established. Despite facing financial ruin, legal persecution, and the possible loss of everything he cared about, his first concern was always the welfare of others. When offered easy solutions that would compromise his principles, he chose hardship instead." Zara turned to Marcus. "You turned down William Carter's offer because you believed accepting help would change the nature of what you were doing. You refused to confess to crimes you did not commit even when it would have freed you immediately, and when your own freedom was at stake, your primary concern was protecting Danny." "Any decent person would have done the same thing," Marcus said. "That is where you are wrong," another Zephyrian said. "In our study of galactic civilizations, we have found that true altruism is extraordinarily rare. Most species develop cooperation only within their immediate groups. Universal compassion, caring for strangers with no expectation of return, is one of the highest evolutionary achievements possible." Carter was processing everything he was hearing. "So because Marcus is a good person, humanity gets to join your galactic community?" "It is more complex than that," Zara explained. "Marcus represents potential that exists within your species. The fact that humans can produce individuals like him suggests that your entire race may be capable of growth beyond what we initially assessed." "But I'm not special," Marcus protested. "I just do what feels right." "That is exactly what makes you remarkable," Zara said. "You have no formal training in ethics or philosophy. You did not help others because of religious commands or social expectations. You simply chose kindness because it was who you decided to be." The holographic display changed to show images of other worlds, other species, cities that stretched across continents and ships that traveled between stars. "The galaxy is vast and full of wonders," Zara continued, "but it is also dangerous. Species that cannot evolve beyond tribalism and selfishness often destroy themselves or become threats to others. We watch for signs that a species is ready to take its place among the civilized worlds." "And Marcus was that sign?" Danny asked. "Marcus was proof that humans can choose compassion over survival, that they can grow beyond their base instincts. His actions convinced us that your species has the potential to become something remarkable. Carter was still struggling to understand the scope of what was happening. So what happens now? Now we make our recommendation to the Galactic Council. Earth will be invited to join the community of worlds. Your scientists will be given access to technologies that will solve your energy and environmental problems. Your explorers will be able to travel to other star systems and meet other intelligent species. And all because Marcus fed a hungry kid? Carter asked. All because Marcus consistently chose to help others when no one was watching and he had nothing to gain. Zara corrected. Small acts of genuine kindness are the foundation upon which great civilizations are built. Marcus sat down heavily in one of Carter's chairs. This is a lot to process. Danny sat on the arm of Marcus's chair. Are you okay with this? Marcus looked at the alien beings who had turned his life upside down, then at Carter who had tried to help, then at Danny who had become his son. I guess if my choices helped humanity, then yeah, I'm okay with it. But I've got a question. Yes? Zara said, what happens to the diner? What happens to our neighborhood? I didn't do what I did to impress aliens. I did it because people needed help. Zara smiled, an expression that somehow worked on her alien features. Your diner will reopen tomorrow morning, exactly as it was, and we suspect it will be busier than ever. As news of what happened spreads, the people you have helped will continue to need help and you will continue to provide it. And Danny? Danny will remain with you, of course. We have observed his remarkable resilience and capacity for growth. He may represent the next generation of human development. Carter stepped forward. Commander Zara, I still want to help Marcus expand what he's doing. Not for publicity or profit, but because I believe in it. And that choice, William Carter, is exactly the kind of evolution we hope to see in your species. When wealth is used to amplify compassion rather than accumulate power, civilizations flourish. As dawn broke over Detroit, the alien ships began to rise back into the sky. But before they disappeared completely, Zara had one final message. Marcus Thompson, you have given humanity a gift beyond measure. Because of your choices, your species will take its place among the stars. But remember, the real work is just beginning. Building a civilization worthy of the galaxy will take the efforts of millions of humans choosing kindness every day. The ships vanished into the morning light, leaving the three humans alone on the roof of Carter's building. Below them, the city was waking up to a new world, though most people did not know it yet. So, Carter said finally, I guess we should get back to work. Marcus nodded. The diner opens in 2 hours. People will be expecting breakfast. Danny grinned. And I've got school. Can't wait to see what they're teaching about the galaxy these days. As they headed back inside, Marcus realized that despite everything that had happened, nothing had really changed. He was still the same man who chose to help a hungry child, and that choice had somehow saved the world. Carter paced in his office while Danny sat in a chair by the window, staring out at the city lights. It was nearly midnight and Marcus had been in FBI custody for 12 hours. Carter's lawyers were working around the clock, but the federal system moved slowly, especially when someone did not want it to move at all. Any word yet? Danny asked. My lawyers filed the paperwork for bail, but the judge won't see it until morning. Carter said. I'm sorry, Danny, I'm doing everything I can. Danny nodded. He had been quiet most of the day, processing everything that had happened. Mr. Carter, can I ask you something? Of course. Why are you helping us? I mean really helping us, not just the business reasons you told Marcus. Carter stopped pacing and sat down across from Danny. That's a good question. I guess because Marcus reminded me of something I had forgotten. What's that? That some people are genuinely good. Not because it benefits them, not because someone's watching, but because it's who they are. Carter leaned forward. Danny, I've spent my whole life around people who only care about money and power. Then I meet Marcus, and he turns down millions of dollars because he thinks it might compromise his principles. He's stubborn like that, Danny said with a small smile. Yes, he is, and that stubborn goodness is exactly what the world needs more of. Carter's phone rang. It was his head of security, a former CIA agent named Rodriguez who specialized in finding information that people wanted to keep hidden. Mr. Carter, I've got something you need to hear, Rodriguez said. The investigation into Marcus Thompson isn't legitimate. Someone's been pulling strings behind the scenes to manufacture this case. Who? Still working on that. But I can tell you the health department violations were bogus. The tax seizure was based on altered records, and the FBI agents aren't really investigating money laundering. Then what are they doing? Near as I can tell, they're following orders to apply pressure. Someone wants to see how Thompson reacts when everything falls apart. Carter felt a chill run down his spine. You're saying this is all a test? That's exactly what I'm saying. The question is, who's running the test and why? After Carter hung up, he shared what he had learned with Danny. The boy listened carefully, then asked, So someone's been messing with Marcus on purpose? It looks that way, but why? What did he ever do to anybody? Carter did not have an answer for that. But he was going to find out, even if he had to tear apart the entire federal government to do it. Meanwhile, in the FBI detention center, Marcus lay on a narrow cot staring at the ceiling. They had offered him a deal an hour ago. Plead guilty to minor tax violations, pay a fine, and go home. All charges would be dropped and the diner could reopen. The offer proved they had nothing real on him. If he was actually guilty of serious crimes, they would not be offering deals. They just wanted him to admit guilt for something, anything to justify what they had put him through. Marcus had turned down the deal. He would not confess to crimes he had not committed, even if it meant staying in jail. Some principles were worth more than freedom. A guard came to his cell at 2 a.m. Thompson, you've got a visitor. Marcus was surprised. Visiting hours had ended long ago, and his lawyer had gone home hours earlier. He was led to a small room where a woman in an expensive suit was waiting for him. Mr. Thompson, my name is Janet Morrison. I'm with the Department of Justice. Marcus sat down across from her. Little late for a social call, isn't it? I'm here to offer you a way out of this situation. I already heard the deal. I'm not interested in pleading guilty to things I didn't do. Morrison opened a briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. This isn't about the charges, Mr. Thompson. This is about something much bigger. She spread photographs across the table. They showed Marcus feeding Danny that first night, helping homeless veterans, giving jobs to people others had written off. Every act of kindness from the past 2 years was documented in detail. You've been under observation for quite some time, Morrison said. Marcus felt his blood turn cold. Why? Because you represent something unusual, Mr. Thompson. In a world where most people look out for themselves first, you consistently put others before your own interests. That kind of behavior is statistically rare enough to attract attention. Whose attention? Morrison was quiet for a moment. Let's just say there are people in very high places who are interested in human nature, in what makes people choose good over evil when no one's watching. And you decided to destroy my life to test that? We needed to see if your principles would hold under real pressure, if kindness was just a luxury you could afford when times were good, or if it was something deeper. Marcus stared at the photographs of himself helping others. Seeing his private moments of compassion turned into surveillance data made him feel sick. And what's your conclusion? That you passed every test we threw at you? Health department harassment, financial pressure, tax problems, federal investigation. Through it all, your primary concern was protecting that boy and helping your community. So this was all fake? The FBI agents, the charges, everything? The agents are real, but they're following orders to apply pressure, not to actually prosecute you. The charges will disappear as quickly as they appeared. Marcus felt anger building in his chest, hotter than anything he had felt since the war. You put Danny through hell for your experiment. You made him think he was going to lose another family. We had to create realistic conditions. Marcus stood up so fast his chair fell over. Get me out of here now. Mr. Thompson, please sit down. There's more we need to discuss. No, you had your test. You got your data. Now let me go home to my son. Morrison nodded to someone Marcus could not see and the door opened. You're free to go, Mr. Thompson. All charges have been dropped. Your diner will be returned to you tomorrow morning, and all the artificial problems we created will be resolved. And in return, nothing. This was purely observational research. Marcus walked toward the door, then stopped. Ms. Morrison, I've got a question for you. Yes? In all your research on human nature, did you ever consider that maybe the reason good people are rare is because people like you keep testing them until they break? Morrison had no answer for that. Carter was waiting in the lobby when Marcus was released. Danny ran to him and hugged him tightly. I knew they'd let you go, Danny said. I told Mr. Carter you didn't do anything wrong. Marcus held the boy and looked at Carter over his head. Thank you for taking care of him. No thanks necessary. But Marcus, we need to talk. I found out some things about who was behind all this. They drove back to Carter's house, where Rodriguez was waiting with more information. Mr. Thompson, someone's been watching you for years. The surveillance operation is extensive, sophisticated, and expensive. This isn't just government curiosity. Then what is it? Rodriguez pulled up files on his computer. Best I can tell, you triggered some kind of algorithm. Something that identifies statistically unusual human behavior patterns. What kind of algorithm looks for people being nice to each other? The kind that's designed to study human nature on a species level. Carter felt pieces clicking together in his mind. Rodriguez, who has the technology to run this kind of operation? The resources to manipulate federal agencies and coordinate surveillance this sophisticated? Honestly, Mr. Carter, nobody on Earth has this level of capability. The technology I'm seeing in these intercepts is decades ahead of anything our government has. They all sat in silence for a moment, processing the implications. Finally, Danny spoke up. So someone not from Earth has been watching Marcus. Rodriguez nodded slowly. That's the only explanation that makes sense. High above them, Commander Zara watched the humans piece together the truth. They're more perceptive than we expected, she told her science officer. The human called Marcus has exceeded all behavioral parameters. His ethical framework remained intact despite extreme pressure, and the others are adapting quickly to new information. This species may be more resilient than our models predicted. Zara made a decision that would change everything. Prepare for direct contact. If these humans have proven their worth, they deserve to know why they were tested. Contact with a pre-galactic species is highly irregular. Commander, so is finding a species that chooses compassion over survival. Begin the descent sequence. As Carter, Marcus, and Danny tried to understand what had happened to them, lights began appearing in the sky above Earth. The test was over, but the real story was just beginning. Monday morning came with the worst news yet. Marcus arrived at the diner to find the locks had been changed. A notice from the sheriff's department was posted on the door, saying the building had been seized for unpaid taxes. Marcus stood on the sidewalk reading the notice 3 times, trying to make sense of it. He had paid his taxes. He always paid his taxes on time. But according to the county, he owed $47,000 in back taxes and penalties. Danny arrived for school and saw Marcus standing outside the locked diner. What's happening? Marcus showed him the notice. Danny's face went white. But you paid the taxes. I saw you write the check. I know I did, but somehow their records show different. Other people started arriving for breakfast and found the diner closed. Betty the nurse looked confused. Frank the construction worker got angry. Maria with her 2 children just stood there holding their hands, not understanding why their safe place was suddenly gone. This is wrong, Frank said. Marcus runs an honest business. He helps everyone in this neighborhood. There's got to be something we can do, Betty added. Some way to fight this. Marcus appreciated their support, but he knew the system. Once the government seized your property, getting it back was almost impossible, especially when you did not have money for lawyers. William Carter's car pulled up as the crowd was dispersing. He got out and saw the notice on the door, then found Marcus sitting on the curb with his head in his hands. What happened? Carter asked. Marcus explained about the tax seizure. Carter's expression grew dark as he listened. This doesn't make sense, Carter said. Let me make some calls. Don't bother, Marcus said. I can't fight the county. I don't have the money for lawyers or the connections to make this go away. But you do have me, Carter said. I can fix this, Marcus. 1 phone call and this problem disappears. Marcus looked up. And then what? I owe you everything. The diner becomes your charity project? No, it becomes what it's always been. Your place. I just help remove the obstacles. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Around them, the neighborhood was losing its heart. The people who depended on Hope's Kitchen were walking away confused and hurt. Danny stood nearby, trying not to cry. Mr. Carter, Marcus finally said, if you help me now, what do you want in return? Nothing. I just want to see you succeed. Nobody gives away that kind of money for nothing. Carter sat down on the curb next to Marcus. You're right. I do want something. I want to prove to myself that good people like you actually exist. I want to believe that kindness isn't just weakness and that helping others isn't just naive. Marcus studied Carter's face. And if I disappoint you, then I'll know the world is exactly as cold as I thought it was. Before Marcus could answer, 3 black cars pulled up to the curb. Men in dark suits got out and walked toward them. Marcus had seen enough government agents in his life to recognize them immediately. "Marcus Thompson?" one of the men asked. "That's me. Agent Johnson, FBI. We need to talk to you about some irregularities in your business finances." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "What kind of irregularities?" "Money laundering, tax evasion, possibly running a front for criminal activity." Carter stood up. "That's ridiculous. This man runs a diner, not a criminal enterprise." Agent Johnson looked at Carter. "And you are?" "William Carter. I'm a regular customer here." "Mr. Carter, we'll need to speak with you, too. You've been observed making regular payments to Mr. Thompson's establishment. I eat here. I pay for my food. That's not a crime. Large cash payments to a business under investigation raise questions." Marcus felt everything crashing down around him. First the health department, then the suppliers. Then the rent increase and tax seizure, and now the FBI. Someone was destroying his life piece by piece. "Agent Johnson," Marcus said, "I keep detailed records of every transaction in my business. You're welcome to examine them." "We will, but right now we need you to come with us for questioning." Danny stepped forward. "He didn't do anything wrong. Marcus is the most honest person I know." One of the other agents looked at Danny. "Son, are you a relative?" "I'm his family," Danny said firmly. "Do you have legal custody?" Agent Johnson asked Marcus. Marcus's heart stopped. He had been working with a lawyer to formally adopt Danny, but the paperwork was not finished yet. "We're in the process." "Then the boy needs to come with us too. Child Services will need to evaluate his living situation." "No," Marcus said. "You're not taking him. Danny hasn't done anything wrong." "Sir, calm down. We're just following procedure." Carter stepped between the agents and Danny. "Gentlemen, there's no need for this. If you have questions for Mr. Thompson, he'll cooperate fully. But the boy doesn't need to be involved. Mr. Carter, please step aside." "Actually, no." Carter pulled out his phone. "I'm calling my lawyer, and the mayor, and probably a few news stations." Agent Johnson's expression hardened. "Sir, you're interfering with a federal investigation. I'm protecting an innocent child from being traumatized by overzealous federal agents." Marcus watched the confrontation and made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. "Danny, go with Mr. Carter." "Marcus, no. I'm not leaving you." "Yes, you are. Mr. Carter, will you take care of him until I get this sorted out?" Carter nodded immediately. "Of course." "I don't want to go," Danny said, tears in his eyes. Marcus knelt down and put his hands on Danny's shoulders. "Listen to me, son. Remember what your mom taught you about looking for the good in people? Mr. Carter is good people. He'll keep you safe until I can come get you. What if you can't come get me? Then you'll be okay anyway. Because you're stronger than you know and you have people who care about you." Danny hugged Marcus tightly. "I love you, Marcus. I love you too, son. Now go." Carter put his arm around Danny and led him to his car. As they drove away, Marcus saw Danny looking back through the rear window, his face pressed against the glass. Agent Johnson handcuffed Marcus and put him in the back of one of the black cars. As they drove toward downtown, Marcus stared out the window at his neighborhood disappearing behind him. High above Earth, Commander Zara watched the feeds with growing concern. Analysis of the human stress indicators shows he's approaching his breaking point. "The pressure protocols have been extremely effective," her science officer reported. "All external support systems have been systematically eliminated. Perhaps too effective. If we push him much further, we might destroy the very qualities we're trying to test." "Shall I reduce the pressure?" Zara hesitated. The fate of humanity hung on whether this one human could maintain his principles under extreme adversity. But if they broke him completely, they would learn nothing except that everyone had limits. "Continue monitoring," she decided, "but prepare for possible intervention if his psychological state becomes critical." In the FBI interrogation room, Marcus sat across from Agent Johnson and his partner, Agent Davis. They had been asking the same questions for 3 hours, trying to get him to admit to crimes he had never committed. "Mr. Thompson, we have evidence of suspicious financial activity at your establishment." "Then show me the evidence. Multiple large cash deposits that don't match your reported income." "I told you, people sometimes pay in cash. I report everything to the IRS." "What about the payments from William Carter? He eats at my diner. He pays for his food. Sometimes he tips well. Agent Davis leaned forward. Mr. Thompson, we know you're involved in something bigger than just running a diner. Make this easy on yourself and tell us what's really going on. Marcus looked at the two agents and felt something shift inside him. They were trying to break him down, make him confess to things he had never done. They were attacking everything he had built, everything he believed in. But instead of breaking, Marcus felt his resolve harden. Agents, I've been honest with you about everything. I run a diner. I feed people. I help my community. If that's a crime in your book, then I guess I'm guilty. Mr. Thompson, your cooperation could make a big difference in how this case proceeds. I am cooperating. I'm telling you the truth. The fact that you don't want to hear it isn't my problem. Outside the interrogation room, William Carter was working his phone like a general coordinating a battle. His lawyers were filing motions. His private investigators were digging into who was really behind the attacks on Marcus. And his media contacts were preparing stories that would expose the whole operation. But what Carter did not know was that his efforts were being monitored by observers who had the power to end this entire charade with a thought. The question was whether they would choose to intervene or let humanity's test play out to its natural conclusion. The trouble started on a Monday morning in December. Marcus arrived at the diner to find a notice taped to his front door. The city health department wanted to do an inspection that afternoon. That was unusual because they had just inspected him 6 months ago and everything had been perfect. Inspector Patricia Wong arrived at 2 o'clock with a clipboard and a serious expression. She went through the diner like she was looking for evidence of a crime. She checked temperatures, examined equipment, and asked for paperwork that Marcus had never been required to show before. There are some violations here, she said after 2 hours of inspection. Marcus frowned. What kind of violations? Your grease trap needs to be updated to the new city standards. Your exhaust system doesn't meet the latest regulations, and this floor needs to be replaced with commercial-grade material. But I just had the floor redone last year. You passed it then. Regulations changed, Wong said, writing on her clipboard. You have 30 days to fix these issues or we'll have to shut you down. After she left, Marcus sat at the counter and added up the costs. The repairs would cost $15,000. He had maybe $3,000 in his savings account. His military pension was already stretched thin, helping other people in the neighborhood. Danny came in from school and saw Marcus staring at the papers. What's wrong? Marcus explained about the inspection. Danny's face went pale. Does this mean we have to close the diner? Not if I can help it, Marcus said. I'll figure something out. That evening, William Carter came in for dinner. He could see something was wrong with Marcus, but he did not ask questions. He just ordered his usual meal and left a good tip like always. The next day brought more bad news. Marcus's food supplier called to say they were canceling his account. They claimed there had been problems with his credit, which made no sense because Marcus always paid his bills on time. I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson, the manager said over the phone. The decision came from higher up. I can't tell you more than that. Marcus had to drive across town to find another supplier who would work with him. Their prices were higher and their food was not as good, but he had no choice. On Wednesday, his landlord showed up with another shock. I'm raising your rent, Mr. Peterson said. Starting next month, it goes from $1,200 to $1,800. That's a 50% increase, Marcus said. Why? Property values in this area are going up. I got to adjust to market rates. Mr. Peterson, you know I can't afford that. I've been a good tenant for 8 years. I'm sorry, Marcus. Business is business. That night, Marcus sat in his office adding up numbers that did not work. Between the city violations, the new supplier costs, and the rent increase, he needed about $25,000 just to keep the diner open through the next month. He had never felt so hopeless. Danny knocked on the office door. Marcus, you okay? Come in, son. Danny sat down across from Marcus's desk. This is about money, isn't it? Marcus nodded. Yeah, we're in trouble, Danny, real trouble. How much trouble? Marcus showed him the numbers. Danny was only 13, but he had learned about money the hard way when his mother was sick. He understood what the numbers meant. We're going to lose the diner, Danny said quietly. Maybe. I'm trying to think of options. What about Mr. Carter? He offered to help before. Marcus shook his head. I can't take his money, Danny, I told you why. But if we don't take his help, we lose everything anyway. At least this way, the diner could stay open. People could keep eating here. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. You think I should call him? I think you should do what's best for the neighborhood. And for me, that hit Marcus hard. He had been so focused on his principles that he had forgotten Danny needed stability. The boy had already lost everything once. Marcus could not let it happen again. The next morning, Marcus called Carter's office. The receptionist said Mr. Carter was in meetings all day, but she would give him the message. Marcus waited by the phone, but Carter never called back. On Friday, things got worse. The gas company showed up to disconnect service because of an unpaid bill that Marcus knew he had paid. It took 3 hours and a trip to their office with his receipt to get them to turn the gas back. Then his insurance company called to say his policy was being canceled because of changes in risk assessment. When Marcus asked what that meant, they could not give him a clear answer. Betty, the nurse, noticed how stressed Marcus looked when she came in for lunch. You okay, honey? You look like you haven't slept in days. Just some business problems, Marcus said. Nothing I can't handle. But Frank, the construction worker, was more direct. Marcus, whatever's going on, you know this neighborhood has your back, right? You've helped all of us at one time or another. I appreciate that, Frank, really. I'm serious. You need money, you need help, you just ask. Don't try to carry this alone. That afternoon, Marcus was restocking supplies when he noticed something strange. A man in a dark suit was sitting in a car across the street watching the diner. When Marcus looked again an hour later, the man was still there. Danny saw him too when he came home from school. Who's that guy? I don't know, Marcus said, but he's been there all afternoon. They watched through the window as the man made phone calls and wrote in a notebook. When closing time came, he drove away. That weekend, Marcus tried to reach Carter again, but the billionaire's office said he was traveling and could not be reached. Marcus started calling banks about loans, but his credit had somehow been damaged. Applications that should have been approved were rejected without explanation. On Sunday night, Marcus sat in the diner after closing and made a decision. He would sell everything he owned to try to save the place. His truck, his furniture, even his father's watch. It would not be enough, but it might buy him time to find another solution. Danny found him there at midnight, sitting in the dark. Marcus, you should go to bed. Can't sleep anyway, Marcus said. Danny, I want you to know that whatever happens, you're going to be okay. I'll make sure of that. What do you mean? I mean, if we lose this place, I'll find somewhere else for us to live. I'll find another job. I won't let you end up on the streets again. Danny sat down next to him. Marcus, can I tell you something? When my mom was dying, she made me promise to look for the good in people. Even when things got bad, she said that's how you survive the really hard times. Your mom sounds like she was a smart woman. She was. And she would have liked you. She would have said you're one of the good ones. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. Danny, I'm scared I'm going to let you down. Let everyone down. You can't let me down, Danny said. You already saved me. Whatever happens next, you already did the most important thing. What they did not know was that their conversation was being recorded by devices too small to see. Miles above Earth, Commander Zara watched the feeds with growing interest. Fascinating, she said to her science officer. External pressure is increasing exponentially. But the human's ethical behavior remains constant. The young human appears to be reinforcing the older one's resolve. Yes. They're supporting each other instead of competing for resources. This is not what our models predicted. Should we increase the pressure further? Zara hesitated. Part of her wanted to see how much these humans could endure before they broke, but another part of her was beginning to hope they would not break at all. Continue monitoring, she decided, but prepare the intervention protocols. If these humans pass the final test, we may need to act quickly. In his mansion across town, William Carter sat in his study, unaware that his phone calls were being blocked by alien technology. He had been trying to reach Marcus for days, but his messages were not getting through. Something was interfering with his attempts to help, and he was beginning to suspect it was not a coincidence. Carter made a decision. If he could not reach Marcus by phone, he would go to the diner in person. Tomorrow he would offer his help again, and this time he would not take no for an answer. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, but it all came down to whether one good man could hold on to his principles when everything he cared about was at stake. 3 weeks had passed since Danny started living at the diner. He was doing well in school and had made friends with some of the other kids in his grade. The teachers were impressed with how quickly he caught up on missed work. Every afternoon he came straight to Hope's kitchen to help Marcus with the dinner rush. The man in the expensive suit had become a regular customer. He came in at different times, sometimes for breakfast, sometimes for lunch or dinner. He always sat quietly, ate his food, and left good tips. Marcus treated him like any other customer, but Danny noticed the man was always watching everything that happened in the diner. One Thursday evening, after the last customer had left, the man approached the counter instead of leaving. Danny was in the back doing homework and Marcus was cleaning the grill. "Excuse me," the man said. "Could I have a word with you?" Marcus looked up. "Sure, what can I do for you?" The man pulled out a business card and placed it on the counter. "My name is William Carter. I'm the CEO of Carter Technologies." Marcus glanced at the card but kept cleaning. "Okay, nice to meet you, Mr. Carter. You don't seem surprised. Should I be?" Marcus asked. "You've been coming in here for weeks. I figured you'd tell me who you were when you were ready." Carter smiled. "Most people recognize me. I don't pay much attention to business news," Marcus said. "You want some coffee? I was about to make a fresh pot." "That would be nice." Marcus started the coffee machine and turned to face Carter. "So what brings a billionaire to my little diner? And don't tell me it's the food, though I do make a mean hamburger." Carter laughed. "Actually, the food is excellent. But you're right, that's not why I'm here." He paused and looked around the diner. "I've been watching you, Marcus. Watching how you run this place, how you treat people. And I'm impressed. I've seen you feed people who can't pay. I've watched you hire ex-convicts when no one else would give them a chance. I saw what you did for that boy, Danny. You didn't hesitate, didn't ask questions, just helped." Marcus poured 2 cups of coffee and set one in front of Carter. "That's what people do for each other. At least that's what they should do." "But they don't," Carter said. "Not usually. I've spent my whole life studying human behavior, trying to understand what motivates people. Most of the time it's self-interest. But you're different, I'm not different. I just remember what it was like to need help." Carter leaned forward. "I want to invest in your diner. Help you expand, maybe open other locations. Spread what you're doing here to other neighborhoods." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Why?" "Because what you're doing matters. You're proving that business can be about more than just making money. You're building community, giving people hope." "And what would you want in return?" "Nothing. This would be a gift, not an investment." Marcus shook his head. "I appreciate the offer, Mr. Carter, I really do. But I can't accept it." Carter looked surprised. "Why not?" "Because this place works, because it's real. People trust me because they know I'm one of them. If word got out that a billionaire was backing me, that would change everything. People would think I was just some rich man's charity project, but you could help so many more people. Maybe. Or maybe I'd lose the thing that makes this place special." Marcus sat down across from Carter. "Mr. Carter, I bet you're used to solving problems by throwing money at them. But some problems can't be bought and sold." Carter was quiet for a long moment. "You know, my advisors would say you're crazy to turn down my offer. Your advisors probably never had to choose between buying food and paying rent. You're right. They haven't." Carter stood up and pulled out his wallet. "Well, I can still pay for my dinner like any other customer." As Carter put money on the counter, Danny came out from the back room. "Marcus, I finished my math homework. You want me to help with anything else?" "Danny, come here. I want you to meet someone." Marcus called the boy over. "This is Mr. Carter. He owns a big technology company." Danny shook Carter's hand politely. "Nice to meet you, sir." Carter studied the boy's face. Danny looked healthier than he had 3 weeks ago. His clothes were clean, his hair was neat, and there was light in his eyes that had not been there before. "Nice to meet you too, Danny. How are you liking school?" "It's great. I'm catching up real fast. Marcus helps me with my homework when it gets hard." "And you help him here in the diner?" "Yes, sir, I like it. Makes me feel useful." Carter looked between Marcus and Danny. "Danny, can I ask you something? What was it like when Marcus first helped you?" Danny thought for a moment. "Scary, I guess. I mean, good scary. I wasn't used to people being nice to me without wanting something back. But Marcus, he just treated me like I was his own family from the first night. And now I am his family. And he's mine." Carter felt something twist in his chest. He had spent billions on technology that was supposed to bring people together. But he had never seen connection like what existed between Marcus and Danny. After Carter left, Marcus and Danny finished closing the diner. As they walked to the back room, Danny asked, "Marcus, who was that man really?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, why was he really here? Rich people don't usually hang around places like this unless they want something." Marcus smiled. "You're getting too smart for your own good." "But you're right. He offered to give me money to expand the diner." "That sounds good. Why didn't you take it?" "Because some things are more important than money, Danny. This place works because people trust it. If they thought it was just some rich man's project, they'd stop coming. They'd stop believing it was real." Danny nodded slowly. "So you chose us over the money." "I chose what was right." "There's a difference." What neither Marcus nor Danny knew was that their conversation was being monitored by observers far more advanced than William Carter. The Zephyrian science vessel hidden in Earth's magnetosphere had been tracking Marcus for weeks, ever since their algorithms identified him as a statistical anomaly. Commander Zara stood before the main display, watching feeds from micro-drones that had been observing the diner. "Analysis complete, Commander," her science officer reported. "The human-designated Marcus Thompson has maintained consistent altruistic behavior patterns despite increasing social and economic pressure." "Interesting," Zara said. "And the young human? Also showing remarkable adaptation. Despite severe early trauma, he displays high empathy levels and strong ethical development under the older human's influence. This is unusual for Earth humans," Zara noted. "Most of our observations show them defaulting to self-preservation and resource accumulation when stressed. These two appear to be operating on different behavioral algorithms entirely." Zara made a decision that would change the course of human history. "Begin Phase 2 of the evaluation protocol. Increase environmental pressures. If these humans can maintain their principles under real adversity, we may need to reconsider our assessment of their entire species." The science officer's tentacles moved over the control interface. "Phase 2 initiated, Commander. Should we alert the Galactic Council?" "Not yet. Let's see what these humans are really made of first." Back on Earth, Marcus and Danny settled in for the night, unaware that their small acts of kindness had attracted the attention of beings who held the fate of humanity in their hands. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight they were just a man and a boy who had found family in each other. Carter drove home through the empty streets, his mind racing with plans. If Marcus would not accept his help directly, perhaps there were other ways to support what the man was doing. The billionaire had resources Marcus could not imagine, and he was beginning to think those resources might be put to better use than buying more companies or building bigger mansions. High above them all, alien observers prepared to test whether human goodness could survive when everything was at stake. Danny woke up to the smell of bacon and coffee. For a moment he forgot where he was. The couch was more comfortable than anywhere he had slept in months. Sunlight came through a small window in the back office, and he could hear the sounds of the diner getting ready for the morning rush. Marcus was already working when Danny came out of the back room. The big man smiled when he saw the boy. "Morning, Danny. Sleep okay?" "Yes, sir." "Thank you. Hungry?" Danny nodded. His stomach was already growling even though he had eaten so much the night before. Marcus made him pancakes, eggs, and sausage. While Danny ate, Marcus worked the morning shift alone, taking orders and cooking food for the early customers. The diner filled up with regular customers. There was Betty, an older woman who worked at the hospital and always ordered coffee and toast. Frank came in wearing his construction clothes, needing a big breakfast before his long day. Maria brought her 2 young children and ordered them chocolate chip pancakes. Danny watched how Marcus treated each person. He remembered their names, asked about their families, and made everyone feel welcome. When Frank realized he was short on money, Marcus told him to pay next time. When Maria's kids spilled syrup on the floor, Marcus cleaned it up with a smile. "You do this every day?" Danny asked when the morning rush slowed down. 7 days a week, Marcus said. "Been doing it for 8 years now. Don't you get tired?" Marcus wiped down the counter. "Sometimes, but this place gives people something they need. Good food, a warm place to sit, someone who cares if they're okay. That matters." Danny helped clean tables and fill water glasses. He was good at staying out of the way, but being useful when needed. Marcus noticed how the boy moved, like someone who had learned to be invisible when necessary. Around noon, a man in an expensive suit walked in. He looked out of place among the working people who usually ate at Hope's kitchen. Danny recognized him as the same man who had been sitting in the corner the night before. The man sat at the counter and ordered a simple lunch. Marcus served him without any special treatment, just like any other customer. But Danny could see the man was watching everything that happened in the diner. After lunch, Marcus found Danny reading an old book in the back office. "You like to read?" "Yes, sir. My mom taught me. She said books could take you anywhere." Marcus sat down next to him. "Smart woman. What grade were you in before you stopped school?" "7th. You want to go back?" Danny shrugged. "Don't know where I'd go. Don't have an address or anything." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Danny, I've been thinking. This place could use some help. Someone to clean tables, wash dishes, help with small things. It doesn't pay much, but it comes with meals and a place to sleep. You interested?" Danny's eyes went wide. "You mean it?" "I could stay here?" "If you want to. But there are rules. You gotta go back to school. You gotta help around here when you're not studying. And you gotta trust me to help you find your grandmother." Danny felt tears in his eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes and we'll figure out the rest." "Yes, sir." "Thank you, Marcus." The man in the expensive suit finished his lunch and left, but not before leaving a $20 tip on a $12 meal. Marcus noticed but didn't say anything. That afternoon, Marcus took Danny to the school district office. The woman behind the desk was tired and overworked, but when Marcus explained Danny's situation, she found ways to help. They got Danny enrolled in the local middle school and signed him up for the free lunch program. "He'll need supplies," the woman said. "We'll handle that," Marcus replied. They stopped at a store on the way back to the diner. Marcus bought Danny clothes, shoes, school supplies, and a backpack. Danny kept trying to thank him, but Marcus just smiled and told him to save his thanks for later. That evening, Danny helped serve dinner customers. He was nervous at first, but the regular customers were kind to him. Betty, the nurse, asked about his schooling. Frank, the construction worker, gave him tips on staying strong. Maria's children drew him pictures with crayons. The man in the expensive suit came back again. This time he sat at a different table and ordered dinner. Danny served him water and bread, and the man thanked him politely. But Danny could feel the man watching him and Marcus. After closing time, Marcus taught Danny how to work the cash register and showed him where everything was stored. "This is your home now," Marcus said. "That means you got responsibilities, but it also means you're safe." Danny nodded seriously. "Marcus, why are you doing this for me?" Marcus leaned against the counter. "When I was about your age, my family lost our house. We lived in our car for 6 months. One day, a woman who ran a small restaurant in the town where we stopped gave me a job washing dishes. She didn't know us, didn't owe us anything, but she helped anyway." "What happened to your family?" "My dad found work eventually. We got back on our feet, but I never forgot what that woman did for us, how she treated me like I mattered when I felt like nothing." "Is that why you became a soldier?" Marcus smiled. "Part of it. I wanted to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. But after I got out of the army, I realized I could do that right here in my own neighborhood." Danny helped Marcus finish cleaning for the night. As they turned off the lights and locked up, Danny felt something he had not felt since his mother died. He felt like he belonged somewhere. Neither of them saw the expensive car parked across the street, or the man inside making phone calls to people in offices far away. William Carter had spent the day watching Marcus and Danny, and what he saw was changing everything he thought he knew about human nature. Carter had built his fortune by understanding what motivated people. Money, power, recognition, fear. But Marcus seemed to operate on different principles entirely. The man gave freely without expecting anything back. He treated a homeless child with the same respect he gave paying customers. He was building something more valuable than any business Carter had ever seen. Carter made one more phone call before driving away. Tomorrow he would start putting plans in motion that would test everything Marcus claimed to believe. Because if what Carter was seeing was real, if this kind of goodness could survive real pressure, then perhaps there was hope for humanity after all. But Carter was not the only one watching. High above the earth, in a place between dimensions that human science could not detect, other observers were taking notes. The Zephyrian monitoring station had been tracking human behavior for decades, looking for signs that this species might be worth saving. Most of what they saw was disappointing. Wars, greed, environmental destruction, cruelty to the weak. But the interaction between Marcus and Danny had triggered their interest algorithms. Small acts of kindness were rare enough in the galaxy to be worth studying. The aliens decided to keep watching. If this human called Marcus could maintain his principles under pressure, it might change their entire assessment of Earth. The stakes were higher than anyone on the planet could imagine, but for now, it all came down to one man's choice to help a hungry child. The wind cut through the streets of Detroit like a knife. Marcus Thompson pulled his jacket tighter as he cleaned the last table in his small diner. The clock on the wall showed 9:30 in the evening. He had been working since 5 in the morning like every other day for the past 8 years. Marcus was a big man with gentle eyes and hands that had seen both war and peace. At 45, he carried himself with the quiet dignity of someone who had faced real hardship and chose kindness anyway. His diner, Hope's Kitchen, sat on the corner of 2 busy streets in a neighborhood that had seen better days. The place was small, with just 12 tables and a counter that seated 8 people. The paint on the walls was old but clean. The floor had scratches from years of use, but Marcus mopped it every night until it shone. The smell of coffee and fried food hung in the air, mixed with something warmer that people called hope. Marcus locked the cash register and counted the day's earnings. $47.30. Not much, but enough to keep the lights on for another day. He had learned to make every dollar stretch. His military pension helped, but most of that money went to help others in the neighborhood who had even less than he did. As he wiped down the counter one last time, movement outside caught his eye. A small figure sat hunched against the brick wall next to his diner. The person was trying to stay out of the wind, but the November cold was bitter and unforgiving. Marcus turned off the lights inside and stepped outside to lock up. As he got closer, he could see it was a young boy, maybe 12 or 13 years old. The kid wore a thin jacket that was too big for him, and shoes with holes that let in the cold. His dark hair was messy and his face was dirty, but his eyes held something that made Marcus stop. The boy looked up when Marcus approached. There was no fear in his eyes, just the tired look of someone who had been hungry for too long. "Evening," Marcus said softly. "You okay out here?" The boy shrugged. "Just resting." Marcus could see the kid was shivering. His lips had a blue tint that meant the cold was getting serious. "When did you last eat?" "Yesterday morning." The boy's voice was quiet but honest. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. He had seen enough hunger in his life to know what it looked like. In the war, he had watched children starve while politicians argued about aid packages. Back then, he could not do much except follow orders. But this was his street, his neighborhood, and this was one child he could help. "What's your name?" Marcus asked. "Danny Rodriguez." "Well, Danny, I'm Marcus. I own this diner, and I was just about to make myself some dinner. You want to join me?" Danny looked surprised. "I don't have any money. Did I ask for money?" Marcus smiled and pulled out his keys. "Come on. It's too cold to sit out here." Danny hesitated for a moment, then slowly got to his feet. Marcus opened the diner door and turned the lights back on. The warmth hit them both as they stepped inside. "Sit anywhere you like," Marcus said, pointing to the tables. "I'll get the stove going." Danny chose a table near the window and sat down carefully like he was afraid of breaking something. Marcus went behind the counter and started cooking. He made scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, and hash browns. The smell filled the small space, and he could hear Danny's stomach growling from across the room. While the food cooked, Marcus made hot chocolate and brought it to Danny's table. The boy wrapped his hands around the warm mug and took small sips like he wanted to make it last forever. "So, Danny, where's home for you?" Marcus asked as he flipped the bacon. Danny was quiet for a long moment. "Don't really have one right now. My mom died 3 months ago. Cancer. My dad, he left right after the funeral. Said he couldn't handle it." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. He had seen a lot of cruelty in the world, but abandoning a child always hit him hard. "Any other family?" "My grandma lives in Texas, but she doesn't know about Mom yet." "I don't know how to find her." Marcus nodded and focused on the cooking. Sometimes the best thing to do was listen, not talk. He plated the food and brought it to Danny's table. The boy's eyes went wide when he saw how much food there was. "This is all for me." "Every bit of it," Marcus said. "Eat up." Danny ate like someone who had not seen a real meal in weeks. He tried to eat slowly at first, but hunger won and he finished everything on the plate. Marcus brought him a glass of milk and a piece of apple pie. "Thank you," Danny said quietly. "This is the best meal I've had in a long time." Marcus sat down across from him. You been sleeping outside? Danny nodded. Found some places that stay warm. The library is good during the day. School? Stopped going when Mom got real sick. Had to take care of her. Marcus studied the boy's face. Danny was small for his age, probably from not eating enough, but there was strength in him. The kind of strength that came from facing hard things and not giving up. Neither of them noticed the man sitting in the corner booth. William Carter had been there for an hour, nursing a cup of coffee and reading emails on his phone. His expensive car had broken down 2 blocks away, and this was the only place open while he waited for his driver. Carter was worth more than most small countries. His company made the computer chips that ran everything from phones to space shuttles. He was used to being recognized wherever he went, but the simple clothes he wore tonight and the dim lighting in the diner kept him anonymous. He had watched Marcus work all evening. The man moved with purpose and care, treating every customer like they mattered. But what Carter was seeing now made him put down his phone and pay attention. Marcus was not making a show of helping Danny. There were no cameras, no reporters, no one to impress. The diner owner was simply feeding a hungry child because it was the right thing to do. Carter had spent millions on charity dinners where rich people patted themselves on the back for writing checks. But this was different. This was real kindness given freely with no expectation of return. You got a place to sleep tonight? Marcus asked Danny. I'll find something. Marcus shook his head. Not in this cold. I got a couch in the back office. It's not much, but it's warm and safe. Danny looked like he might cry. Why are you helping me? Marcus smiled. Because someone helped me once when I needed it. And because you remind me of myself at your age. Carter watched as Marcus showed Danny to the back room and brought him blankets and a pillow. The billionaire had seen enough. He left money on his table and walked out into the cold night, his mind racing with plans that would change more lives than anyone could imagine.